So there's snow on the ground. We all know that I hate snow. Now, this stuff right here is more than snow. It's actually ice. Pretty solid. But will your septic system still work even with a layer of ice? Let's get into it. What are we talking about today? Today we have ourselves a septic system of unknown age. 1950s is when this house was built, and we have a layer of ice over top of everything. So we've got to find the tank, and I'm going to show you how to find the tank using some secret methods, especially to deal with the snow, and I think you're going to find this one interesting. But first, we have to find the tank. We've covered tank location in the past, and there's really no big difference between finding a tank that's buried under grass and finding a tank that's buried under snow. Now, the problem with snow is you can't really see the topography of the ground, so you can't really see if there's any kind of swales, dips, or any kind of mounds in the yard. So what you have to do is you have to think about the layout of the home. So what I'm looking for is, where's the bathroom? Once I find where the bathroom's at, I start to say, okay, where's the sewer line exit the home? Once we know where the bathroom's at and where the sewer line exits the home, now I have a pretty good idea. Is it in the back, front, side? Where could I start looking for the tank? After that, we grab our handy dandy metal detector, turn that bad boy as high of sensitivity as possible, and we start wandering in a grid-like fashion until we find it. And over time, you might get lucky and actually hit something metal. As you can see, we found the lid to the tank. Now, this one's nice because it has a clean out and a riser. This is our clean out. So we can see that we have a nice brass lid on a cast iron pipe. Super reflective for the metal detector. This little fella is gonna be our manhole riser. Now, unfortunately, they've got a pretty substantial crack on this, so I'm concerned the moment I pick this up, that lid, or that portion of the lid's gonna fall into the tank. Manhole risers come in a variety of shapes and sizes. This particular one is a square concrete lid, perfectly normal. In the particular county that I'm in, they always have a clean out, always have a riser, especially on old systems. Once we find it, we take our handy dandy flat shovel, start chipping away the ice, and then move it so we can actually see what's going on. Our next step is to get the lid of the clean out open and get the riser open and hopefully not lose that chunk of concrete. While we're doing that, we should also scout behind the tank to see if we can find the dry well. So I've got my handy dandy pipe wrench. This is how we're gonna get that clean out off. And my handy dandy hook. This is how we're gonna get that concrete riser lid off. So let's focus real quick on this clean out, because I'm feeling this is frozen. There we go. Actually, it wasn't that bad to get off. So slide that off. Oh, it looks pretty deep down there. One thing to keep in mind when it comes to metal piping like this, if you're touching it with your bare hands in the winter, especially if they're cold and wet, your hands can stick to the metal, and that kind of sucks. Not very fun. So now, before we pull off the riser, let's find a dry well. So we're doing long sweeps. Oh. Yep. All right, so you can see a hump in the snow, which is convenient for us. And we're getting a nice metallic feedback. So this is going to be the clean out to the dry well. All right, so we'll pop this bad boy open. This is a 6-inch clean out, incredibly common on dry wells. Oh, whole thing pops up. Ah, that's because they just sat it on top of the old cast iron one. Now we got the dry well open, we got the tank open, we need to get this manhole open. This is where it gets a little sketch because of the snow. That is frozen solid. That sucks. And that looks like it comes right up. Unlucky. Let's see if we can get this chunk out and maybe see things without moving the rest of the riser. And we can. Yeah, I think we're just gonna leave that on because that looks like a homemade riser. So the setup for this particular tank is very common. So we have one tank, one pit. Super common for any house that was in the 50s, 60s, and 70s in our area. The purpose of the tank, as we've discussed previously, is to capture the solids. You don't want any of that junk getting into the absorption area. The absorption area is going to be the dry well. Now, what is a dry well? It's just a big pit, right? Dry stack cinder block in a big cylinder. Typically, they're about 10 foot deep. Sometimes they're a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. They take dry stack cinder block and stone the exterior, put a big fat lid on top, and then as the water goes into the tank, solids fall out of suspension, and then that water will go off and into the pit and disperse itself into the surrounding soil. When you have a homemade riser, typically it's going to be made of cinder block or bricks. The concern is structural integrity. So I was standing on that lid, not knowing what was underneath of it. The problem is if that block or bricks give up for whatever reason, I'm going for a swim, and it's not a very fun swim, especially if I'm taking you with me. That'd kind of suck. The next step is we need to get a mirror and a flashlight. We need to look inside of the tank. What do we see? Do we see anything funky? And then we need to look inside the dry well, run a little bit of water, make sure the pipes are open, and then hopefully everything we find looks pretty good. So let's go back on over there. We're gonna warm up in the car here for a few minutes, and then we're gonna go back and make sure nothing silly's going on. Now that I got my flashlight, this is my favorite one. It's got quite a lot of brightness to it. We can light up anything. And we have our extension pole with a mirror. This is gonna help us see into the tank. Oh, okay. Looking down, I can see a bunch of roots sitting right in front of the inlet line. That's no bueno. Let's look down in here. Okay. It's concrete wall. Ooh, it's warm and toasty down there. We're gonna have to get some water running so we can actually see what's going on. So we got a little unlucky. Our hose is frozen. So now we have to go through, crack it until we find the block of ice. I thought it was empty, but I guess it wasn't. Now let's take our mirror. We got it a little warmed up so it doesn't fog too bad on us. And then we're gonna look right on down into the tank. I'm gonna see outlet baffle is there. Inlet baffle is covered in roots. So that is a problem. So that's a problem, that we've got roots around the inlet line. The concern with that is clogging. If you have roots and stuff in there, you run the risk of all that junk getting stuck. And eventually, if you get enough roots, enough stuff caught, you'll run into a problem of all that debris getting back to the house. All right. So right now we're taking a look at the dry well. Water level looks pretty good. Don't see anything super crazy. That's always a good sign. So this brings us back to our main question. Can a septic system still function in the snow? Short answer, yes it can. The reason why is as all the bacteria is doing its thing and all the sludge is falling on the suspension of that liquid, a lot of heat is being generated. You have a lot of microorganisms sitting inside of that stuff, and it creates a nice steamy layer that comes on up and keeps everything nice and toasty. Now when you looked inside that cleanout, you could see that frost right on the top. That's because the moisture is freezing once it gets higher up into the column, but down below there's enough heat to keep things moving, and you don't have to worry about that tank turning into a block of ice. Same thing goes with your sewer line, right? If you have a sewer line coming from the house, it should be buried below the frost line. So you shouldn't have to worry about any stagnant water getting stuck and frozen, but that's also why you want to have proper pitch to your pipes. If you don't have good pitch, if the water's sitting in the pipe, you run the risk of all that stuff freezing if you have a shallow sewer line. In our state, most sewer lines are below the frost line anyway, so like it's not that big of a deal. This particular one is incredibly far below the frost line, so they don't have to worry about this thing freezing at all. hopefully you found it interesting in how we found this system in the snow. And if you liked this style of video, if you like my videos in general, you know what to do. I have videos posted every day on the world of well and septic, and I've got a few projects I'm working on that might be a little bit different, and I hope that you find them enjoyable too. But you'll find out about those soon. Till next time, guys.